and I just got done watching 1976's Carrie, starring Sissy Spacek, Piper Laurie, Amy Irving, Nancy Allen, and even John Travolta. This one I've only seen once before, and I saw it not long after I read the book that it's based on by Stephen King of the same name. And I wasn't all that impressed, and I think that was because I was kind of instantly comparing it to the book. Now, that was a good number of years ago, so enough time's passed for me to completely forget what happens in the book. And so it's basically Carrie White is this really awkward, really shy, no friends, skinny, daughter, single child of a single mother, and she gets her period at whatever age, quite an old age, teenage age, and of course everybody picks on her and stuff like that. And you start to see flickers that she can make stuff happen, like make a light bulb explode, or other little things every time she gets emotional. You find out that she's got this very very God-fearing mother who's like come up with her own little interpretation of the Bible and kind of bothers everybody in the neighborhood to try and raise money and stuff. And she's absolutely just really controlling, and she every time her daughter tries to do anything to break out of this mould that she's in, the mother's like, oh, you're gonna sin, you're gonna do this, that and the other. And you can see why Carrie's ended up in this kind of, why she is the way she is. But anyway, time goes on, and the teenagers continue to tease her and everything, and they come up with this awful, embarrassing plan, humiliating to Carrie. They come up with this plan to essentially, just honestly, this is so lame, to drop a bucket of pig's blood on top of Carrie at the prom, where they intend on fixing the prom king and queen votes to make sure that Carrie's on the stage so that then they can drop this bucket on her. Except when they do, of course Carrie loses it, goes berserk, and well, you see, so much is made. Essentially this whole movie is leading up to the end scene. Everybody considers this as a horror, but actually for a good chunk of it, it's just a story of somebody being bullied at school. Yeah, you have the odd flashes here and there when Carrie starts to realise what she can do, and she starts reading up about telekinesis and stuff like that. But actually, the scariest thing in this whole movie, up until the last 15-20 minutes, is the mother. But you know what, the thing is watching the end scene, which I should get more into in a minute after I've covered the rest of the movie, but actually watching the end scene, everybody's like, oh, Carrie goes berserk, she's covered in blood and all that stuff. I mean, it's the main focus of the front of this case. But if you watch it, actually the main thing that Carrie does, other than shutting the doors, is she puts the fire hose on, which makes everybody wet. It's the main panic that everybody else causes. Some douchebag tries to grab a hold of the hose and sprinkles it at the lights, which starts sparks and stuff. The theatre technician in me was going absolutely, getting really angry with some of the lacking practicalities of some of the stuff they were trying to make you believe would happen. Uh, especially even, there's a bit where there's a couple of teachers fighting over the microphone for some reason, and Carrie gets them wet, there's water around their feet, and all of a sudden they start sparking. Now, they didn't touch the microphone with wet hands. I'm not sure what they're trying to imply, but the microphone didn't get wet, so there was no reason for it to go that way. Cables on that, I mean, to be fair, this is 1976, so we could argue it was bad wiring or stuff like that, but cables are insulated. A drop of water on it would not make it just go poof. But somebody's going to so correct me on that, and I'm going to feel like a complete twit. But I swear I am electronically and theatre technically qualified. But, yeah, no, actually Carrie doesn't do that much. It's what everybody else does. There is an incident where there's this big thing that comes down and crashes this teacher who was kind of nice earlier, except for one off comment that she made. But she has this thing kind of come down and like get her across the midriff. That was kind of bad, but actually Carrie didn't do that much. I mean, it's purely the panic that causes a fire and everything like that. So, I'm not saying that that's not bad, but actually, Carrie is the big bad of this movie, essentially. But it did bug me that I was sat there kind of watching it going, actually she doesn't do that much. But yeah, no, essentially that's the thing, this movie is all about the end scene. I don't remember the book that much, so I don't remember how close this is to it. Judging by how I felt about this movie the last time I watched it, I feel a lot of heart was missing out of it. But like I say, I did enjoy this movie a lot more this time around. Oh my god, Sissy Spacek and Piper Laurie are just amazing in this movie. It is so fun and disturbing and just, it's such a core thing about the centre of this movie. And, you know, it's important. They could have gone so wrong with this. But it works. Their relationship is so believable. It's disconcerting. And completely unnerving. The thing is with a story like, I mean, essentially this movie is, you know, on some metaphorical level, it's about the terrors of becoming a woman, about, you know, starting your menstruation cycle and stuff like that. I remember when I was at school, we had in my junior school, which is, I don't know what I'm getting confused what the equivalent, the US equivalent is. Elementary school, I guess. We had this one toilet in the girls, which was locked, which was used just for that purpose, for girls that were starting their menstruation period. And I remember being in a toilet next to somebody who was in there, and they were absolutely bawling their eyes out. It was like terrifying. I wasn't at the time, and I was like, oh my god, this is going to be awful when it happens. And of course when it did happen, the scientist in me was just like, yeah, whatever, it's nature. But hearing that girl and then seeing this movie, it is essentially, you know, like I say, metaphorical. It is about becoming an adult, essentially. And all the terrors that incurs, including changes to the body and stuff like that. And I guess, I mean, obviously the book is a lot more, Carrie does a lot more with her mind during the course of the book. And I don't know if it just wasn't as explored in this due to practical effects or what. But I think both are worth checking out for their own properties. Brian De Palma, who directs this, has done a brilliant job. I love the split screen effect, like at the prom bit when things go to hell. The only nitpick I had was there's this, the guys are out picking tuxedos for the prom, and there's this long discussion, whatever, about frills and not having frills and stuff like that on the shirt. And then there's this like 2-second bit where the film goes really fast, and you can hear them still talking. And I'm like, now I've never slowed it down, and to be honest, I've not even bothered looking up to see what they're supposed to be saying. But I didn't get the point of it. I don't know if they're trying to say, oh look, you know, guys, they joke that women go on about their clothes, but actually guys go on for a length of time about their clothes as well. I don't know if they were trying to say that that is the case and they were trying to truncate it kind of thing, but it just seemed really bizarre and really needless kind of thing. But, you know, it's funny seeing a pre-Grease and pre-Saturday Night Fever John Travolta in this. Also, Nancy Allen, who, from RoboCop, it's funny to see a younger version of her here. This is a good movie. It is very 70s. It's got some awful music in it. And I don't know what they're trying to do with the music sometimes. There is some beautiful music also. But there's just some very odd kind of synth, keyboardy style music at times. Which kind of had me sat there going, okay, what are they trying to do with the soundtrack? But like I say, if you go into this thinking it is just a pure horror, if you've never seen it before, and you go in thinking it is nothing but horror, it's not. There is this is an hour and 35 minutes long, and like I say, a good hour and a quarter of this is just essentially all the lead up. And if you have a problem with people who are overzealously religious, you will get tired of Carrie's mum. But I found her sufficiently creepy. But you know, it's... You know what, I would say it's a slow burner, no pun intended, but everything that leads up to the end is necessary. And to be honest, I don't feel like it feels well paced. And I think, like I say, I think that comes down to Brian De Palma's excellent directing. Everybody's fun at acting. It is very 70s style. You can't... There's a lot of stuff that you would probably normally fault. If it was an up-to-date movie, you would probably fault it for a number of the things that are going on. But you got to bear in mind, 70s, and a lot of the practical effects are amazing. Even something silly like, oh, Carrie, when she kills her mum at the end, because Carrie's mum is going to kill her, but Carrie, like, hits back kind of thing. There's this brilliant bit where Piper Laurie is supposed to be, like, pinned up like this kind of thing. And she takes one knife out of this hand, but Piper Laurie is still holding on, and like Sissy Spacek's Carrie is like trying to pull her away, and she really convincingly kind of held on to that. But what cracked me up about that is, you know what, for a movie that was insistent on being a horror movie, I mean, it blows my mind that this is 18 rated. You could easily get away with this as a 15 nowadays. There's barely any swearing. To be honest, there's barely any blood. But what cracks me up is, so Carrie, like, moves these sharp objects into her mother's body, but actually there's no blood. You don't see any blood. Her mum just, like, dies, and yet I don't see anywhere that... I could have just not been paying enough attention. I didn't see anywhere where one of the knives had hit a vital organ that would cause her to just die like that. I don't think it was anywhere near her heart, or anything like that. And the thing is, like, so you don't see any blood, so it's not even as if she bleeds out. So I know that sounds like a really silly thing to get like too logical about, but it was nitpicking me. I was sat there going, well, technically she wouldn't be dead, and she wouldn't be dead that quick, and why is there no blood? Just, it was that kind of thing. But otherwise, the practical effects are amazing. Continuity is pretty good for the most part. And this is really enjoyable. Like I said, it's well paced. You just got to go in remembering that it is mainly about a girl at school. I think that's something that makes this movie difficult for me at times, is I was essentially Carrie. You know, I was the loner. I was the odd one out who never got on and wasn't good at sports and stuff like that. Even when I was, yes, there was a time when I was painfully skinny. So it's an ongoing joke that it's amazing that I'm not a serial killer, that I haven't snapped. But the thing is I think that's what made this more difficult to watch at the time that I watched it, is because I could identify with her so much. And I think that's the thing with something like this, is it gets you emotionally. And you do need to bear that in mind. You can't go into this thinking it's like a hack and slash kind of thriller horror, because it's not. But it is definitely worth checking out, especially if you are a horror fan. I don't give it a high mark. It's not perfect, but it is enjoyable. I've not seen the sequel, so I can't comment. I've willingly bitched about it, and ignorantly, I will confess, because I refuse to believe that a movie like as this good should be remade, because it is a classic. But I can understand why they would modernise it, and from what I've heard, the remake is quite good. So I can't comment on that, but I just wanted to get that in there. But yeah, no, that was tonight's movie. 1976's Carrie. We'll be back again tomorrow. I'm not sure off the top of my head what we got, but looking forward to it. Thank you for watching. Looking forward to seeing your comments. But for now, this is Sketch, signing out. But unfortunately not with the power of my mind. Sorry.